So, hey everyone, my name's Hutchison. This is actually my second time actually trying to post a video recording because apparently, along with it being on private, it was also completely lacking audio. So, even if it was in a public place, it would not be any use grading. So, I'm sorry about that, John. I've also sound really bad. I got one of the worst colds I've ever had. I don't know if that's change of climate, but I'll try to speak as clearly as possible. Um, because I'm trying to get this video for grading and stuff. Fortunately, there's not going to be any dancing vaginas in the background, so you missed that one. I am just kidding. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone to dress up as a vagina and dance in the background, but that would have been kind of funny, I suppose. Along with that, I'm a little bit jet lagged from returning to the States, so things might get a little weird, but I'm already going to be talking about vaginas, so how much weirder can they really get? So my book report was on the Vagina Monologues, and it was on the V-Day edition. The book was written by Eve Ensler. She had a background in education, I believe. Is I looked several places and it didn't flat out say like what her specific education was, but she went to Middlebury College in Vermont. The date of publication is almost 20 years back, dating to 1998, and the intended audience was for women. So there's a lot of different things that happen in this book. It's like a chicken noodle soup book. So there's different stories from all these different women from ages like 20 to 70 something. And they're all just brought together and put in this convenient little place for everyone to read. So instead of trying to summarize that, I'm just going to give a couple examples of the different things you can read about in this book. So the reason for this book is because there's so many different names for vaginas, like twat, poochie, punani, monkey box scooter, coochie snorcher. Like the list goes on and on. And it just, why can't we just say vagina? It's just another part of our bodies. But it's like we've been shamed into putting it into the shadows using nicknames because to call it what it is would be to own up to it and, like, own it as part of us. And who knows what would happen if we were empowered enough with that idea. Um, One of the stories I read about was a woman whose first and only husband, which after reading about this I totally sided with her for not getting a second husband because it was horrible, cheated on her because she refused to shave her vagina. And she didn't like that because it made her feel like a little girl, prepubescent, no pubic hair, and left her feeling bare, and she really didn't enjoy it. And the psychiatrist actually sided with the husband, like, why couldn't you just please your husband? And it's just like kind of a gross feeling. It also made me like rethink Brazilian waxes because I hope women are doing that for themselves and not for guys, because the trend kind of made me think of how she compared to feeling like a little girl, and if guys, along with it being cleaner, decided, they like the younger girl look, which is kind of creepy if you think about it. There was another story, and there was a 70-year-old woman who had never seen her vagina, and she'd never touched it with any intent besides cleaning it in the shower. So she was encouraged to go to a therapist, and that therapist was like, go home, make a nice evening, light candles, this and that, and, explore yourself. So she went in the tub and she was checking herself out, and she couldn't find her clitoris for like an hour. And when she did find it, she actually cried. And this just makes me sad because the clitoris is specifically for pleasure. And I think because of that, we should, make use of it because that's its only function. That's what it's there for female pleasure. If you hear noises in the background, that's the cat. So it just makes me sad and kind of like angry because I'm not trying to make an assumption, but most likely it was the Caucasian males like Augustine and the other ones we read about in our textbook that were like, sex is bad, clitoris is bad, no masturbation. And so even though guys end up getting away with it, the girls, you know, it's a lot more damaging for females, and so they just don't ever get to use that part of our body, and it's just shameful. Overall, I really enjoyed this book because it reminds women of their right to their own sexuality, and I think that's very empowering. It's kind of like take back the vagina, and there was a conference that Eve went to where one of her really great feminist friends had everyone like chanting cunt just over and over and over again, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like it was an interesting image in my head. There was just a couple that I can name off the top of my head that of different like topics that was mentioned in our class, such as like slut shaming and then the genital shaming sort of thing. I guess that kind of goes hand in hand, though. Genital shaming is a little bit more unigender, unisex. Yeah. So the double standards thing is going to drive me mad, though, because I forgot which guy it was. I know it was on the test. I'm sorry, I've already forgotten. But he was told because of his wet dreams, he would end up going, mad and then blind. And, masturbation was so bad that, it could only end in some sort of psychological disorder. And so for the guys, there might have been a chastity belt put on. But for women, like, cutting off the clit seemed to be a pretty regular thing back in the day. And that's, I feel like, a lot more severe than. Don't get me wrong, the chastity belts did look horrible in the book when I saw them. But, like, completely removing things or sewing together the labia so that the clit's inaccessible, like, just hearing about that seems a little bit more one-sided, the severity of punishment for masturbation and all that, though I am aware that I'm highly biased because I'm a female. This book was a collection of different women's like opinions and experiences and stories, and so this was definitely not scientific based and also not the author's opinions. I mean, she pushes her opinions by picking out which stories that she's been lucky enough to have women share with her in the book, but in the end, it is different other people's opinions and perspectives, not just hers. She just is a little bit probably more selective than what goes in there. Since this book is the Vagina Monologues and is very much intended for women, let's say the bias is that it kind of puts guys in a bad light because it's so focused on empowering women. Like, it doesn't necessarily say guys are bad, but in a lot of stories, guys end up being the bad guy because of rape and just like sexism, excuse me. So it doesn't necessarily mean to, I don't believe, because I think Eve Ensler is a true feminist that just wants equality for both sexes and not the double standard of having the door held open for them, but still be treating it as an equal in that the really extreme feminist way. As a feminist and playwright, along with just a regular writer, of course, I think Eve Ensler does have a strong educational background, just background in general, I guess, from her sex, with being able to write this and really relate to it, and to get these women to draw out their stories, because for a lot of them, it was, I would assume, very tough. Like, there was a couple stories that were very kind of dark, and I think that would take a lot of bravery to share with someone, but also you need someone who can show the like empathy to help you work through that, because that's a lot to deal with. I would highly recommend this book for others. Like, I really enjoyed it, and it's also a really short read, so even if you're not really a non-reader, so even if you are a non-reader, sorry, you can get through it just small sections at a time because they are different stories, so they're not too related to each other, so ending in the middle of the book isn't going to be a big deal. I actually started capitalizing the word vagina on accident because of this, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I thought it was interesting. So I'd say it's kind of an influential book. Strengths would be of the book would be that it has vagina in it. So I mean that would interest people quite a bit, I would think, just because that's not something. It's a little bit abnormal. So because it's not talked about a lot, I feel like people will see the taboo and kind of be like drawn to it. Along with that, the weaknesses would be if you are a guy, you might feel a little bit more enlightened because of all the women perspectives that are kind of thrown on you. But you also might walk away with like a chip on your shoulder because, you know, once again, the guys are put in a bad light, even though I don't think it's necessarily on purpose. I just thought it was a interesting read. I'd actually been meaning to read this for a long time, and I just never got around to it. And I'm really glad that this was on the list and I got to actually go through it because it's empowered me. I've actually told my friends that I call my vagina, their vagina, anyone's vagina, anything but a vagina, that they need to correct me because I want to stop using nicknames and call it what it is. So there's that. Alright, hope you're enjoying your move. See you, John. And everyone else, I suppose.